So I'm sitting out in a coffee shop the other day, and I haven't freelanced for a while, so I just thought to myself, hey, I haven't done this for a while, may make for some good content. Let's just give this a shot. So I did some research on the coffee shop, took a look, found out they didn't have a website, or it wasn't really linked up to anywhere, and it was this down website that had like this under construction page. And I see the owner, so I wave him down. I know these people, so I happen to start talking to him, and I get to know a little bit more about their site and what's going on there. And just kind of long story short, that's something that I'm going to work on. It's a kind of a deal that we're going to put together, and I just made one post about it, and I started getting a couple of questions about that. So the first ones were some selling points. So what were the selling points? Another one was price points, and this is kind of what I wanted to address and just kind of go over a few things. So I'm just going to casually read over some of these and just kind of address them one by one. So the first thing is when I look at this, when I look at any company, and when I looked up this one in particular, I looked up the traffic. So I go to Google Keyword Planner. So it's a simple tool you can use, and I just type in coffee shop. It's going to pull up all the coffee shops in that area or all the keywords related, anything else somebody may search up. And I look at the traffic, and it's about 5,000 to 10,000 a month for this industry. So the first selling point I would say is going to be that traffic right there. So right away, I'm able to gauge that market potential. I'm able to see what that traffic's going to be like. Now, kind of the cool thing that happened in this case was the fact that I've actually, back in my days of running a web development company and doing this for other clients, is we actually had a coffee shop business as one of our clients, just probably within about maybe a 15-mile radius here. So I already understood that a good percentage of that traffic is going to go to that website. Now, a lot of times people will do that search. They're going to pull it up, and they're going to go directly into that Google Plus. And the biggest ones they look for is going to be reviews. I think most of us understand that people are looking for reviews, and you normally want to see maybe what this place is serving as far as food, what the atmosphere is like. So you're just going to look at the pictures, and you're going to go on from there. And you probably won't look at that website. Now, from my experience and from the research that I've done, about 30%, maybe 15 to 30% of that traffic is going to go and look at that website, whether that's just to validate the company or that restaurant. Maybe they want to look at more hours. Maybe the hours aren't clear online, or they want to see a menu. Now, that's a big one. In cafes, people want to see a menu. So just in knowing that information, I already know what I'm going into, and I'm giving any business owner I talk to the information that I understand about their company. I'm showing them that I already know what I'm doing here, and I'm showing them the value in what I can bring here. Now, what I like to look at right away, and when I'm selling something, is the ROI. Now, a lot of times we kind of have this price point we have set for ourselves, and we want to make a certain amount on a project here. But a business owner, if you're trying to sell them something, you don't want to sell them a price point that they're going to see just as a pit they're going to throw their money into. A lot of people will, let's say, try to sell a website. They're just going to slap on a price of $2,000 because that seems like it's industry standard. Now, if it is or not, that shouldn't be your take on it, or you shouldn't. You need to go beyond that to sell that. Now, a business owner understands ROI. They understand getting their return on investment. They understand investing money into something. Now, if you can make it about that, if you can show them that traffic, and let's say for this business, let's say we just pulled about 5% of that traffic. Now, that's not unreasonable. I've seen that before. We were pulling, I think it was about, at this point, that was several years ago, probably about 1,000 to maybe 1,800 visits to the website. And these were local. I did my research, made sure to exclude any bots that were going to the website or any out of town traffic, anything like that. So I excluded that, and I'm able to gauge this and see that we can pull, let's just say 5%. We can go on the lower end, but if I can show this business owner that we can pull about 5% of that traffic, it doesn't mean that that's all going to become their customer base. They're not going to win all those customers over, but that's that market that they're playing with. You're talking about a couple hundred customers, depending on the city size. That can be several thousands of customers that business owner is missing out just because they don't have that site traffic, or because they don't have that website up. So again, most of that traffic will just make their decision on that Google Plus page, but 30% of that traffic, take that, and then base it off of that, figure out how much of that traffic is going to that website, and then show the business owner what they may be missing out on. This is what I always do, and this is what I put together here. Now, again, a business owner understands that ROI. So instead of telling them, though, this website's going to cost $2,000 or $3,000, whatever you're going to do, and maybe with some SEO with that, if you show them the return on investment and show them that, and they'll do the math in their own head if you show them how many customers they may be missing with this, but they'll calculate that. And if they can just gain an extra couple $100, maybe an extra couple of $1,000 a month from that site, now they're not looking at it as a money pit. They're looking at that as investment. Now, think about it this way. When, let's say, the latest iPhone came out, or wherever you're at, let's say a product came out, you're always judging how you purchase that product based on how you value that. Now, if you knew a new phone came out and you knew nothing about it, and you knew that phone cost $1,100 or whatever the iPhone is nowadays, if you knew that it was that extremely high price, there's a good chance outside of what it's been marketed like that you would actually buy that. Now, when they show you all the features, your eyes get all crazy over it. You become infatuated by the product, and you separate yourself from the money just to purchase that because you know what it's going to give you. Now, a business owner is going to look at it the same way, and we often ruin that when we're freelancing, when we're selling that. We miss that point, and we need to understand that we need to infatuate the business owner with this product. And actually, kind of funny point here. Somebody that messaged me, this was actually Pete from No CS Degree, so I'll link him up. He's just runs a cool website where he has job listings and so on. So I'll link him up there. But he messaged me and he was asking me about that price point, and he said he actually talked to a couple of cafes, and the owners, or a couple of those fell through, and one of the owners said they built out the website themselves on Squarespace. The funny thing is, the owner in this situation, the owner's wife, or I don't know how they run that place, she was actually building that website in Squarespace, but she ended up not finishing it. And this is something that happens to business owners. They get busy. Now, they understand the value of delegating. Sometimes they can build it themselves, but if you can show them the value in what you can bring to the table and actually have a professional handle this, that shouldn't be an issue. Now, if somebody just doesn't want to pay it, you're trying to convince them personally, I would recommend never selling to a client that you have to convince, because if you convince them at one point, they're going to sign that check hesitantly, and then years down the road or months down the road, it's going to be an issue. They're always going to give you grief for it, and they're not going to be a fun client to work with. So I'm personally not a big fan of trying to convince clients. Now, I put out a tweet just after that, just because it was kind of in the same category. And I just posted 3 things that will make your client or a potential client fall in love with you. And I'm going to recap a little bit of what I said. Now, the first one I said was know their business and industry. Now, if you know a client's business and what they're doing, they're automatically going to have a different perspective on you if you're coming at it from trying to understand them. Now, immediately, you want to know, if you come out with something like keyword traffic, you understand their competitors. Now, if you mention their competitors, they're going to know you did a little bit of research. They definitely know their competitors, or at least the top competitors. Now, if you come to them with that keyword traffic, that's something that in most cases they're not going to know. They're running their business. They're not going to understand how to do their research and see what's online. So immediately you just opened up something and brought them value, whether they go with you or not. They now understand in this example that there are 5,000 to 10,000 searches a month for their business. And they know that you know their industry now, and they know that you know what that search traffic is. So immediately you added value by doing that. Another one is going to be to bring their needs to the table before they do. Talk about the menu. Let's say in this case it's a coffee shop. Talk about the menu, maybe some pictures. Ask them if they have pictures that they would want to use. Start bringing these things up before they have to tell you about it, because the second you engage in that conversation, they're going to start opening up with what they already have, what their plans are for that, and you've already started that conversation. So try to anticipate their moves and understand them and come to them and empathize with everything they're doing. Now, in a closing process, this is something that's very important for a client, is give them a clear roadmap. Now, in my case, if it's SEO, I can show them that there's going to be a certain amount of traffic, and they can have a return on their investment with, let's say, 4 to 6 months, maybe a year. If that's an investment that they can put in, business owners understand that they're usually investing years in advance into their business. Showing them that clear roadmap, how you're going to get there, how long it's going to take, and make it simple to where they feel like they don't have to do the work, that you're a all-in-one package, that all they have to do is just work with you and you have them taken care of. That's going to be huge. Give them something clear and tangible and work with them. Now, I kind of have a final point here. The first one was actually going to be not convincing a client. Don't try to convince somebody that's not wanting to work with you. That's going to be a tough client in the first place. But making it about the client, and I have a perfect example for this in, let's say, the pricing point. Now, if you're trying to charge a client just because that price is industry standard, you're thinking about yourself and you've excluded it and you've separated yourself from the client. There's times in my business where, let's say if a client was in a city that had, let's say, 1/5 of the traffic, or they had a smaller city in population, and with the work that I would have to do, let's say it wasn't going to give them that same result that a bigger city might have. I would consider lowering the price if it was still in a profit margin and I was still able to, with my markup, make something out of that. Now, if that client just wasn't worth it, I couldn't make enough money off of it, I wouldn't select that. But understanding that client and considering it from their perspective and actually adjusting your price based on what they need and really seeing it, that's going to be huge. And actually, the client will feel it when you're working with them, and you can even mention that, but just say, hey, because this return might take a little bit longer, we can adjust a few things. But that's going to be huge. If you sympathize with your client, they're going to become a good friend with you, and they're definitely going to be able to trust you if you're working with them, if you're open with them, and put their needs before your own, and actually help their business, not just try to provide them a service, but actually help their business.